Grandma Speaks the Dead Language. Submitted by Luis Prieto. Grandma, as always, sat facing the wall. 5 years ago, my grandfather passed away, and from that day, when she got home from the funeral, she took a chair, turned it towards the wall of our living room, and sat down. She refused to speak or eat or even get up to use the restroom. At first, she had a few accidents before they stopped. My mom assumed she began to go at night while we all slept, but we were never really sure. The food disappeared, the shower was wet in the morning, and we all adjusted to our new life with a partially catatonic grandma. For 2 years, things kept on keeping on with no strange incidents or upsets. Just a hollow shell of a woman who refused to look at anyone. 2 years of normalcy. Then, a night of terror. I was 13, and my mom was going to be gone all night due to an unexpected night shift. It was me, my 8-year-old brother Vernon, or Nani as my mom called him, and Grandma. Things started out fine enough. Me and Nani played some Mortal Kombat, watched some TV, and ended the night with a basement showing of the Blair Witch Project courtesy of Sci-Fi. Spooky stuff, but of course, tough guy Nani acted like it didn't faze him. Not scary. He proclaimed once the movie was over. "Oh yeah? You know it's real, right?" I fibbed. I saw a flick of terror cross his eyes before he buried it. "Nuh-uh." "Yeah-huh. It all really happened." "Shut up. You're such a liar." "Whatever you say, Nani," I said with a snicker. "Stop calling me that." He jumped up and tackled me to the ground, his skinny body unable to do much as I shoved him off of me. "Chill, dummy. You're gonna break something like last time." "That was you." "It wouldn't have been me if some little dumbass hadn't pushed me over. That broken mirror is your fault." "You're not supposed to cuss," he said, pointing at me. "I'm gonna tell Mom." "Mom ain't even here. In fact, why don't you go foo?" There was a loud bang upstairs, severing the word about to escape my lips. "CK," I said quietly, stopping mid-sentence. "What was that?" Nani asked, worried. I hushed, lifting my head upstairs towards the living room. I slowly approached the stairs, my stomach in knots at the idea of ascending them. "Fed, I don't think we should." "I'm trying to listen." I tried to pick up any sound I could, but all I heard was silence. "We have to check on Grandma," I finally said. Nani's eyes grew wide. "No. I don't want to go up there. That sound was creepy enough, and then with Grandma just up there, no way." "Then you can stay down here by yourself then," I said, beginning to walk up the stairs. Fed, "No. Wait." I heard him follow me as I opened the door at the top of the stairs. It was pitch black in the living room. I reached for the light switch and flicked it on. Grandma was right in front of us. "Jesus fuck!" I shouted, falling backwards down the stairs and taking Nani with me. He let out a shriek as we landed with a thud on the basement floor. "Grandma, what are you doing?" I shouted. Her stoic wrinkly face didn't move. A chill crawled up my back. Grandma?" Nani whimpered out. I could feel him shaking under me. Neither of us had dared to move. Suddenly, Grandma looked towards us. Her pale, milky eyes burrowed into us as she slowly opened her mouth. "Amor meus veniat ad me." What language was that? "Amica mea, et veni me commodus somno exercitum." "Grandma?" I said before she turned away from us and went back into the living room. "Nani, stay down here." "What are you gonna do?" "I don't know, but I'm going up there." Fed, "No. Please stay down here." I ignored his pleas as I crawled my way up the stairs. I peeked my head into the living room and saw my grandma facing the door. "Amica mea. Im amor. Veni ad me, sods." Suddenly there was a loud bang at the door. "Amica me," she said again, reaching for the doorknob. From the other side, I could hear scratching. "No!" I shouted, jumping up and grabbing my grandmother's arm. I pulled her from the door, or at least attempted to. She struggled against me and reached out towards the doorknob. From the other side, the scratching continued. "No! No!" she screamed as she broke free and got to the door. She twisted the knob, and as the door swung open, all the lights in the house went out. I yelped and ran back towards the basement, slipping and tumbling down the stairs. I felt 2 hands grasp me, and I screamed before I realized it was just Nani helping me up. "What happened?" he asked, more fearful than ever. "What happened to the lights?" "Hide!" I shouted at him. "Go and hide." I heard him fumbling in the dark, then silence. Figuring he was hidden, I looked up to the top of the stairs. Two figures stood in the doorway. "Venite ad inferias avis." I heard my grandmother shout. She had never spoken like this before, it was a language I couldn't understand. She and the figure began to slowly walk down the stairs. A stench hung in the air, gross and putrid. Then, the thing next to her began to speak. Only it wasn't words. Not even in the tongue Grandma spoke in. It was guttural, like metal being scraped against a sidewalk. It held for 5 seconds before cutting off. Grandma let out a sick laugh as the lights clicked back on. Next to her was my grandfather. Rotted, wormy, and green. But it was my grandfather. I let out a scream, my throat burning from the strain. My grandfather's mouth opened, and his jaw slid off to the floor with a sickening tear. It bounced when it hit the ground. Grandma laughed and picked it up, attempted to reattach it before giving up. She turned towards me with a smile as my grandfather began to shuffle towards me, arms outstretched. I screamed again and crawled away, searching for where Nani was hiding before grandfather wrapped his skeletal hands around my ankle. He let out a screech again and pulled me towards him. Lowering his head, he put his top jaw to my cheek, his teeth sinking in. I continued to scream, but by this point, all I could muster out were some whimpers, my voice hoarse. Grandma stood watching, smiling. Suddenly I saw another figure fly across the room. It was Nani with a bat. He struck our undead grandfather in the head with a stomach-churning thwack. Grandpa's head burst, sending his brain flying all over the room. His eyes flew out, one of them striking my cheek before bouncing to the floor. "No!" my grandma shouted, pushing Nani over and grasping grandfather's body. "Ami kami. Nulla elite. Exita quanda mitaru." She repeated the words over and over, but my grandfather remained lifeless before the lights in the house flickered out again. I ran over to Nani and held him tightly in my arms. I could hear him crying and felt his tears wet my shirt as Grandma continued to wail and sob. When the light turned back on, they were both gone. I held on to Nani for what felt like an eternity before I had the courage to speak. "Where'd they go?" I managed to force out, my voice still raspy from the screaming. "I don't know," Nani whispered, his face still buried into my shirt. I walked to the stairs, slowly walking up to them, Nani's hand clenched tightly in mine. From the top, I looked into the living room. There sat Grandma, facing the wall. Our grandfather was nowhere to be seen.